Okay, now let's discuss about fund and other investment. So here, this is our unit learning outcome. Discuss the nature and purpose of fund. Apply the accounting for sinking fund and other funds. And apply recognition of cash surrender value of life insurance policy. Okay? So as usual, your module or your SIM is composed of beta language, essential knowledge. So first is why do we need uh, funds? What is the reason why the company will establish fund? Um, Sabi dito, establishment of fund for different purposes is becoming very common more and more nowadays, not only to business. Because we need to establish fund, especially if you have some project, no, a big project. And of course, for contingency, for insurance, and many others. Kasi kung hindi mo siya i-establish and then darating ang time that you need to buy something investment or you want to retire some kind of your bonds, no? And then this is a big amount, medyo mahihirapan ka, no? So mas nice if you have a special fund for that specific purpose. So usually the fund is there are cases nga na ay administration yung entity. So meaning to say, siya mismo ang nag-establish ng fund or other way around, gipa-administer niya sa trustee. Okay? Or third party ang nag-administer. So, in an accounting entity, when the fund is established or administered by the entity, they will not hire expertise of a trustee. So, the emphasis on the form of the fund, whether it is in the form of cash, securities, and other assets. So, it's very important. So, meaning, they segregate from general cash, they segregate some portion of their cash to specific fund, or they invest it to securities and other assets, no? So that in the future, they can use this one for their particular reason or specific reason. So to establish the sinking fund, the company must transfer the cash from its general cash account to a sinking fund, and we called it sinking fund cash. And of course, kasi nag-establish ka ng sinking fund cash, you also need to appropriate your retained earnings from unappropriated to appropriation for the funds in order na hindi mo yan mabibigay sa iyong mga stockholders. So first is you need to transfer your general cash to sinking fund. So, mag-entry ka muna ng sinking fund cash. So, you need to transfer, no? Sinking fund cash. And then, cash in bank or cash. Credit, cash in bank or cash. So special purpose yung desegregate mo na cash. And then, after that, appropriate your retained earnings unappropriated to your retained earnings appropriated, or retained earnings unappropriated, or simply we call it retained earnings. Okay? And then appropriation for fund para hindi siya mabigay sa iyong stockholders as part of the dividends. The entity is in charge with making the fund to raise earnings. Therefore, it is but appropriate and necessary that the cash in the sinking fund is used to purchase investment securities. So, pwede yung sinking fund cash mo, pwede mo i-invest to your sinking fund securities. So, if that is the case, you need to reclassify your sinking fund. Of course, kasi you buy, you buy securities, just to earn earnings. Kasi mahirap naman din ma-idle yung cash mo, nandun lang sa bangko. So, pwede mo siya i-buy ng mga securities for you to have some earnings. So, sinking fund securities, this is part of your either current asset or non-current asset, depending on the securities. Usually, this is non-current. And then, kasi binili mo from your sinking fund cash. Any interest earned on the sinking fund securities mean recognition of your sinking fund. Of course, kasi you buy some securities with the purpose that you can earn income, no? Usually interest income. So, ilagay mo yan sa sinking fund income, not interest income. Kasi this is for the purpose of the sinking fund man. Kung uban ginabutan gyapon interest income basta as long as you know that this is coming from your sinking fund. So mas nice kung sinking fund income na lang, no? And of course, you receive cash, and this is for your sinking fund appropriation, or segregate for your sinking fund, no? So i-specific mo sinking fund cash and then sinking fund income. So if there is receivable, interest receivable, kasi at the end of the year kung hindi mapa na-receive, so accrued interest receivable, sinking fund income. And then take note of this, okay? At the end of the year, at the end of the year, the total of the sinking fund shall be determined by adding its components. So you add the sinking fund cash, you add mo yan, the sinking fund securities, and including your accrued interest receivable. Kasi ito, makalimutan ng students, no? So you need to add sinking fund cash, sinking fund securities, accrued interest receivable. Compare it with your appropriated retained earnings. Kasi dapat equal, no? Yung gi-appropriate ni mga retained earnings for your sinking fund is equal to the sinking fund cash, sinking fund securities, plus, no, and accrued interest receivable. So if there is increase, of course, i-appropriate mo naman. Retained earnings appropriated for sinking fund and debit retained earnings. Okay, so it must be equal or the same. If there is sale of your sinking fund securities na binenta mo, no, the proceeds of the sale, of course, this is for sinking fund cash. Okay? Kasi para merong proper separation, no, from your general cash to your sinking fund cash. Okay? So, and dili na siya sinking fund securities kasi cash na siya. Okay? So, any difference in the selling price and cost of sinking fund is credited to gain on sale. Gain on sale of your sinking fund security. Kung naay loss, of course, loss on sale of your securities. Okay? So, if the sinking fund is used to retire a liability for which it was set up, example, there is retirement of bond. Kasi depende kasi yung company, no, kung anong gusto niya sa sinking fund. So, pwede niya i-retire sa kanyang bond, no? So, if this is for retirement of your liability, of course, tanggalin mo si bonds payable and then babayaran mo from your sinking fund cash. So, debit bonds payable and credit sinking fund cash. Okay? Since the purpose of the fund has been made, kasi nawala na, no? Na-establish na yung purpose, no? So, if there are balances, no, from the sinking fund cash, you restore it again, ibalik sa general cash. So, debit cash, sinking fund cash. Kasi nawala na, natapos na yung purpose ng iyong sinking fund. So, as a result, of course, you retain earnings also, no, from appropriation of your fund, no, sa retained earnings, i-cancel mo din siya, ibalik sa retained earnings and appropriated. Okay? So, take note of the summary. So, first is, when you establish your sinking fund, you transfer it, no, from your cash account, so sinking fund cash and credit cash. And then, do not forget, magsunod na siya, so you need to appropriate your retained earnings. Okay? Kung binili mo yung sinking fund cash mo ng sinking fund securities, of course, you debit sinking fund securities and then credit sinking fund cash. And then if you receive income, no, instead of general cash ang ibutang, you need to, kasi this is for sinking fund, no? Sinking fund cash and credit sinking fund income. And then, if hindi mo pa na-receive yung interest, no, from your sinking fund security, so accrued interest receivable, then sinking fund income. Pero at the end of the year, take note, at the end of the year, the retained earnings appropriated must be equal to the sinking fund cash plus the sinking fund securities plus the accrued interest receivable. If there is sale of fund securities, if there is a gain, so debit, sinking fund cash, credit sinking fund securities, credit gain on sale. Pero kung there is a loss, anong entry natin? Sinking fund cash, no? Kung loss gani na siya, of course, yung loss mo nandito sa debit. Okay. Next, if gi-retire, ang imong liability kasi ang purpose ng sinking fund mo for retirement of your bonds payable. So, i-close mo si bonds payable and binayaran mo from your sinking fund cash. And then, kasi natapos na yung purpose ng sinking fund mo, any excess, ibalik sa general cash. Okay? And then, of course, kasi na-finish tapos na yung purpose ng sinking fund cash, sinking fund. So, ibalik ulit sa retained earnings unappropriated. Okay? So, that's it. We have an example here. So, Isabella Company. Okay? Nag-record siya. Yung kanyang purpose, anong purpose niya dito? Bakit siya naggawa ng sinking fund? Okay? For the retirement of bonds. Okay. Nag-invest pa siya ng bonds. So, tingnan natin ang kanyang transaction. On December 31, 20A, si Isabella Company nag-establish ng sinking fund. No? From the general cash, i-establish ng for sinking fund, 4 million. So, gi-transfer lang, no? From general cash to sinking fund cash. And then, of course, kasi mag-transfer ka, mag-take note, i-appropriate yon yung retained earnings para hindi mabigay sa shareholders, no, as part of dividends. So, retained earnings appropriated, unappropriated, and retained earnings appropriated for sinking fund. And then the 4 million, i-invest niya sa bonds. So, sinking fund securities, 4 million, sinking fund cash, 4 million. So, you purchase it. So, take note, semi-annual ang interest, April 1 and October 1. Kailan binili? Hindi sinabi, no? So, usually binili before October. Okay, and October 1, naka-receive siya ng interest kasi yung interest natin semi-annual, April 1 and October 1. So, receive interest 4 million times 12%. Diba? Kasi 12% ang bond natin. 4 million times 0.12. So, that is for semi-annual month divided by 2. Okay? 240. 240. Kasi 12% ang interest pero semi-annual interest. So, ang kanyang divide muna ng 6/12 or divide it into 2. So, sinking fund cash, 240. Sinking fund income. And then, December 31, nag-transfer ulit, no, ng another cash sa sinking fund, no? Sinking fund cash and cash 4 million. And then, on December 31, 20A, no, merong accrued interest from October down to December. October, November, December. So, there are 3 months, no? 3 months. So, 4 million times 0.12 times 3/12. So, that is 120. Itong, wala man siya di-invest. Ang katulang di-invest na ha, kini nga 4 million ang merong interest. Okay? So, accrued interest, receivable, 120, and credit sinking fund income. And then, do not forget, kailangan si retained earnings appropriated is equal to all your sinking funds. So, i-add mo ha. So, you can make at the account. Sinking fund cash, 4 million. Meron tayong sinking fund securities 4 million pero nag-minus man sa sinking fund cash. So, zero na si sinking fund cash, no? Kung magawa ka ng T-account, 4 million minus 4 million. So, wala ng sinking fund cash. Nadagdag sa sinking fund securities. So, sinking fund securities is included. So, 4 million. Nagdagdag ng sinking fund, income plus 240. And then another sinking fund cash plus 4 million. And ayaw kalimot, accrued interest receivable 120. So we have 8,360,000. Pero yung i-appropriate natin is 4 million. So kulangan ng 4,360,000. Okay? So ayan. So the total sinking fund amount here is 8,360,000 composed of the sinking fund cash, which is 4,240,000 kung magawa ka ng T-account. Sinking fund securities 4 million, accrued interest 120. Okay, then yung na-appropriate lang natin sa ledger is 4 million. So there is an additional appropriation of 4,360,000. Okay, next. If a sale of sinking fund securities at 105 is later made, okay, yung sinking fund securities natin is 4 million, di ba? And then, merong sale na at 105, so times 1.05. Okay? Ang fair value na yung 105. So, times 1.05. So, 4 million times 1.05. Ang ating na-receive na sinking fund cash is 4,200,000. And then, yung cost ng sinking fund securities natin sa taas is 4 million. So, there is a gain on sale of securities, 200,000. Okay? If the fund is used to retire a liability, pila ganito to ang, ay wala man tay bonds payable diri. Wala, kaya wala mga amount. So if there is retirement no of the kung naa kay mga utang, liability, and then binayaran mo yun, no, kasi yung purpose mo ng sinking fund is for the payment of your bonds. Of course, you debit bonds payable at face value, so take note para ma-close yung bonds payable mo on your ledger. And then, if there are interest expense on that particular date, ilagay mo yan. And then, of course, credit your sinking fund cash. And then, kung naay sobra, ibalik sa general cash, then sinking fund. And then, i-release ang appropriation. Wala na yan. Okay? When the fund has been used for what it has been set up for, then the cash balance should be returned back to the general cash account. Kasi yung purpose ng sinking fund, para meron siyang mga specific purpose. So, kung merong sobra, bigay sa cash balance. Kung walang sobra yan, of course, dagdagan mo pa, no, yung sinking fund mo, no? No choice ka, you transfer again from your general cash to the sinking fund. So, ano na siya dapat. Kaya, so, ibalik sa general cash, and then ang retained earnings appropriation must be canceled. So, to determine the balance of your sinking fund cash balance, no, you go to your, you make at the account, no, para madali lang siya. Okay, so that's it. So, thank you for listening.